Well, I think of three things specifically right away when you ask me about how we face the near future in our own country, but in the world too. The first thing I think of around the world is this rise of kind of nationalism and populism and xenophobia and immigrant crises all over. I do think, particularly with my new job in interreligious dialogue and kind of being a pilgrim in these days, any way we can to build solidarity among peoples, to build friendships among peoples is going to be very important, to build that net of relationships. And my specific work is really about that, more of encounter than in building conferences and teaching. It's building bonds of friendship, however we can do that. So that's solidarity. And kind of underground, underneath, building those webs of relationships underneath all the prattle that's going on top of us. A second thing, I think specifically, I'm coming from this as a Christian monk, and an ordained priest in the Catholic tradition. I think we followers of Jesus, it's time for us to be radically obedient to the teachings of the gospel. And what I mean by that is like chapter 5, 6, and 7 of the Gospel of Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, radically go back to love of enemies, inclusivity, humility, gentleness, all those things. Because what I keep saying is that the bullies have won. It's just very obvious. The bullies have won, at least in our country. This was such a nasty election anyway, but the way that people have got into office is by sowing hatred and division. We can't give in to that. We have to be the antidote to that, and we have to really believe that the teachings of Jesus can make the world a better place. I'm quoting almost exactly here this wonderful Lutheran scripture scholar and pastor, Munter Isaac. We have to really believe ourselves that Jesus's way is the way to make our world a better place, from the macro to the micro, all the way through in our interpersonal relationships, in our families, but also at a great level. We have to be a different voice at our local level, at our government level, at an international level, to really believe in that. And a third thing, I don't want to sound too apocalyptic or paranoid about it, but I think we really need to protect each other too, because these could be times of real persecutions. Some of the people who've been put in office, they went in saying they're going to exact retribution, and I would say they don't really mean they're armed and dangerous. So we need to watch out for each other, and especially watch out for the weakest among us. I think it's been very important just to take good care of each other, make sure we're all well fed and well supported. I would add just one more thing to that. I remember reading something in I forgot his name. Yeah, Sam Keen's book called The Absence of God, where he had a pretty strong critique of contemporary spirituality. We've been living in kind of luxurious times, I think, in the past couple of decades. He was a big supporter of all kinds of alternative spirituality for a long time, as I have been for many years myself. But his critique of it was that it has been largely irrelevant to the great social, political, and economic problems that we face. The great spiritual movements haven't necessarily promoted a new Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a new Reinhold Niebuhr, a new Mother Teresa, a new Dorothy Day. It hasn't been prophetic in that. And we're not going to be able to rest back on our luxurious spiritualities of affluence anymore. We're going to have to really dig our heels in and be prophetic and put our money where our mouth is and really put our lives on the line sometime for inclusivity rather than exclusivity. So it's time for us to maybe get off the cushion a little bit more and to get out there and preach the gospel, preach the good news if you're a Christian, preach inclusivity and solidarity, for if you're just a person of goodwill and a spiritual seeker, but really build a better place and build a whole different environment in the midst of whatever we're going on